Welcome to the class on Human Resource Management, Module 5, Part A. Today, we will be discussing about compensation management. Part A, compensation, planning, objectives, types of compensation, essentials of a good compensation planning. Now, what is basically a compensation? A compensation plan is defined as the plan to compensate employees for their work efforts. So, you have a compensation plan where you try to give compensate the employees because their performance, because of the based on their performance you compensate them, and it designs a different types of payment modes also, right from wages onwards to different types of allowances. Now wages or salaries could be the amount of work that is being done, and there are other components also. It is a part of actually productivity. And there are other things also that you would find in the compensation package called wages, salaries, benefits, allowances, and how it will be paid. And why should he receive these bonuses or salary increases? All these things comes under the gambit of compensation plan. So let us look at the definitions of compensation plan. Now, Edwin Flippo, 1984, has defined that compensation should be adequate. Okay, it should be sufficient. It should be equitable. It has to be equal. Remuneration should be according to the work of personnel for the contribution to organizational objectives. Folks and Livernash in 1984 defined compensation as the payment of wages or salaries, including incentive, bonus payments, and benefits to employees in exchange for work. Agarwal 2007 defined compensation as the sum total of all forms of payments and rewards provided to the employees for performing tasks to achieve organizational objectives. So Agarwal in 2007 mentioned that you may be giving different types of compensation. Direct may be there, indirect may be there, financial may be there, non-financial can be there. So there are different types of compensation, remuneration that we will be paying as compensation. Now, all these three definitions are very clear. One, it should be adequate. It should be equitable, that is based on the job that he is doing. And it should be basically attaining the organizational objectives. It can be wages, salaries, and many other direct and indirect methods of compensation. And altogether, this is for the achieving the organizational objective. Now, let us look at the objectives of compensation planning. Now, the first one is to attract highly capable and efficient employees. When you advertise your company for employees or do a recruitment, there should be good employees who are willing to join the organization. I mean, capable as well as efficient. So, compensation serves when you have a higher package or good package. Definitely, you will get efficient employees, capable employees to produce higher organizational performance, especially when you give incentives. You will start getting better organizational performance also. To retain talented employees of higher levels of competence. When the employees find that the compensation package is competitive or better than the rest of the industry, definitely they would not like to leave. So you will be able to retain your talented employees. To increase the motivation and morale of the employees, definitely when they find that they have get good compensation, they will be motivated, and the morale of the employees also will be on a higher side. To maintain market competitiveness and reduce employee attrition, your employee should feel that or any employee or anybody who's trying to look at the position, or looking at an opportunity in your company, should feel that is the best. And existing employees should feel that it is not wise to move out of the company. Okay, so then again other things are to product for the reward employees for the productive contribution, and to build employee branding to create a pool of potential recruits. That means you get a good brand name as one of the best paymasters in the industry. As a result, new recruits or potential recruits will look at joining your organization. Okay, now what are the other objectives? Now, if you look at other objectives, one, to help the employee meet their economic, personal, material, social, and psychological needs. For example, your salary should be designed in such a way that your employees are able to meet their economic or financial needs, personal needs, material needs, social and psychological needs also. And this comes basically from Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs. Similarly, it encourages employees to develop their skills and competencies because they feel that there is opportunity in your company to get promoted, and if you get promoted, better compensation is available. So there is always a motivation for them to develop their skills and competencies to elicit needed and desirable behaviors from employees. When you give incentives or productivity based monetary incentives, financial incentives, definitely you will find that good behaviors are can be expected from your employees. And moreover, the last one is to comply with the labor and social legislation, because in organizations are guided by certain acts like Minimum Wages Act, Equal Remuneration Act, Section 529A of the Companies Act 1956, etc., are some of the labor and social legislations in this country. And your compensation planning or compensation management should be able to comply with the labor and social legislations also. Now, what is basically compensation management then? Especially as managers, when you work in the department where you plan actually compensation, you should be able to come out with a good plan, a good compensation management, and it should be designed in such a way that in it should be able to attract as well as retain your employees. Other than that, let us look at what it is. So compensation management is designing and implementation of a total compensation package. I mean, not only just salaries, include direct, indirect, financial, non-financial compensation package, which is systematic. That means, there is when you get promoted, there is a change in your compensation. Similarly, it provides, people should feel or employees should feel that there is a value being given as far as exchange of work is concerned. Similarly, it provides this a systemic approach which provides monetary values, meaning converting the work into money in exchange for the work performed. Compensation should be managed properly to motivate employees by providing best remuneration and compensation as per industry standards. So, when an employee compares his or her compensation with other companies in the same industry, they should feel that their company is the best as far as remuneration is concerned. Now, when you give a good compensation, that will serve the purpose of attracting one potential recruits and retaining the best employees in your organization also. So there lies the point as far as managers are concerned. Compensation should be designed in such a way that employees should feel motivated. They should feel they should be happy to work, and they should feel that they are compensated for their work also. Now, when you look at total compensation, you will find that that can be divided into two things. One can be financial, and the other can be non-financial. Now, financial are basically extrinsic. Extrinsic means which is visible from outside, and intrinsic means that the person should feel inside, inward. That is the reason it is called as intrinsic. So, extrinsic rewards are there, intrinsic rewards are there. And in extrinsic rewards, there are direct and indirect. So one will directly give you when you work, and indirect is something which is supporting you. I'll come to that in detail when we go through different types of compensation. Similarly, there is something called as non-financial or intrinsic rewards. That is for the person who works in the organization. Now, for that, one of them is satisfaction derived from job. I hope you remember the Herzberg's theory of motivation, which talks about, work itself is basically a motivation. So the person should be able to derive satisfaction from his job. And the second one is praise and rewards also. So compensation can be even the work itself, maybe the workplace itself, and second thing is basically the praise and rewards also. So everything is not basically financial; it can be even non-financial also. I have shown you a diagram of the compensation system, where you have in compensation you have direct as well as indirect compensation. Let us look at what is direct compensation. Under direct compensation, we have base pay, and in base pay you may have salary as well as wages also. Now salary is given to especially for white collar employees, and wages usually are for blue collared employees. I mean, salary is given to managers and executives and employees, and wages are usually given for maybe part-time workers, or maybe working workers, workers in the factory or in premises. We give wages also. I'll talk to you about the difference between salary and wages also in one of the in the next module. We have that. Then directly you are giving certain other things also called as merit pay. Okay, merit pay is there based on your skill or something that you possess, on your technical skill or some skills that you possess. You may give even merit pay also. Then you have under direct compensation, you may have bonus, commission based on incentives, like bonus, commission, piece rate, profit sharing, stock option. I will be talking about all those things as we proceed in the next slide. And in deferred also, there can be, like, compensation can be, savings plan can be there, or maybe a provident fund can be there. All those things are deferred. Maybe not, they may not get it right now, but it would when they retire. Similarly, gratuity is there. All these things are given when they retire. And in indirect compensation also, there are certain other things where you don't get actually money directly, but it is given in the form of certain protection programs, or maybe for not worked, or maybe for services and perquisites. For example, under protection programs, you may have medical insurance, life insurance, disability income. Suppose if you have some disability and sitting at home, or maybe sickness, you may get an income for that. Pension and social security under protection programs. Pay for time not worked can be vacations, holidays, sick leave, and jury duty. All those things can be there. And service and perquisites, you have recreational facilities, car facilities can be there. Financial planning, low cost or free meals also. So let us go into different types of compensation. So let us look at types of compensation. All right, financial. So direct compensation. Direct compensation refers to monetary benefits offered and provided to employees in return for the services they provide to the organization. Okay, so directly they are getting it. Especially it is provided in monetary form also, and it may include salary, HRA, conveyance, leave travel allowance, medical reimbursements, special allowances, bonus, PF, gratuity, etc. at a regular intervals. So let's look at one by one as to what are the direct compensation. Salary. Salary is a regular payment by an employer to an employee for employment that is paid most commonly on a monthly basis. All right. So salary is given on a monthly basis, especially to white collar workers, managers, directors, and professionals. Usually, people work in office and admin, or maybe in other fields also. Will get work if they are coming under workers, managers, directors, and professionals will be paid salary. And others, for example, people who come on a day-to-day basis, or maybe on a weekly basis, people who are in lower jobs, they may be paid wages. So that is the difference between salary and wages. And wages are usually given to blue-collar employees. Now, in that also, salary is basically a mix of many things, like dearness allowance can be there, HRA can be there, bonus can be there. All these things will come under salary. Bonus, I mean, as incentives can be there. All those things will come under salary. But you may have other things also along with salary. But there is something called as basic salary. Yeah, I'm sure when you look into salary, you would have found, you would have seen that something called as a slab, like 25,000 to 50, then a hyphen is there, and then 35,000. So that means, like 25,000, and every year 2,500 rupees will increase. So that is called as basically is called as a basic salary. Now, basic salary refers to the amount of money that an employee receives prior to any extras. Nothing is added. Medical or any other type of elements are not added. Okay, prior to any extras being added or payments deducted. It excludes bonuses, overtime, pay, or any other potential compensation from an employer. Okay, the second one is called as dearness allowance, DA. It is called as DA. Is allowed to be paid to public sector, private sector, pensioners as a cost of living adjustment, or it is also called as COLA. Okay, to neutralize the impact of inflation and the difference in cost of living for employees living in different cities and towns. Now, DA is something which is provided especially for the price rise. When the price rise happens, immediately there is no increase in salary. That is usually compensated by way of dearness allowances. It is also called as cost of living adjustment, or called as bracket, in bracket can be put as COLA. I have not put it, but to just remind you. Okay, so whenever there is an increase in the living cost, definitely the DA will be increased. Now there is another one called as house rent allowance. Now house rent allowance is basically the allowance paid by the employer to the employee as a compensation for the rent that they pay for the homes in the place where they stay, from in the city or the place where they stay. And it varies from place to place. For example, we have metro cities. Usually the house rent allowance given by companies in metro cities will be higher than other cities. Like the four metro cities will have a higher HRA, whereas if you look at other cities, it will be on a lower side. So HRA is something which is given as a compensation for the rent that you pay. Then there is something called as conveyance allowance or transport allowance, where like it is given to compensate for the travel from residence to and fro and to and from the respective work location. Now, in certain companies, conveyance allowance may not be there because they may provide transportation. In that case, they may not provide conveyance allowance. Either you can have conveyance allowance, or maybe you can, or otherwise you can avail transport facility by the organized by the company. Okay. Now there is another one called as leave travel allowance, LTA. LTA is an allowance given by the employers to the employee, which can be utilized when they go for a vacation. Now leave travel allowance can also be called as LTC sometimes, or LTA. Now this can be in a block of 4 years. Once in 4 years, the employee will be able to go for on a vacation, and the travel cost will be borne by the company, and it varies for employee based on the position of the employee in the organization. It also varies. For example, if you are a lower level employee, possibly you may get only a second class ticket. If you are slightly higher, you may get a third AC, or otherwise it may be a first AC, or it may be a flight. So like that, LTA may vary from based on your grade, based on your position in the organization. LTA may vary. However, it is maybe for all India travel, you have to travel by the shortest route, and there are certain other things also which has to be taken care of when you avail leave travel allowance. Then there is something called as medical allowance. Now, majority of the companies are now giving medical reimbursement through Mediclaim, but there are certain companies who do not have actually Mediclaim. Those companies offer basically medical allowance. Now, this allowance is whether you are sick or not, on the salary you may get actually a medical allowance, and no bills or nothing is required. They don't either pay more or less. The same allowance would be paid to you on your salary, and that is it. But many organizations have now moved on from medical allowance to medical reimbursement, where you are insured for an amount of like 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs, and whatever be the expenses that you incur in the hospital will be reimbursed by the insurance company through the organization. The organization would submit the bills, and the insurance company will reimburse it, or maybe a card is given, and it may be cashless also. Now, other one, seventh one is basically bonus. What is bonus? Okay, bonus is a reward that is paid to employee for his good work towards organization, or in other words, it is basically the share of the profit earned by the organization. In India, every employee not drawing salary wages beyond 10,000 per month, who has worked for not less than 30 days in an accounting year, shall be eligible for a bonus of minimum of 8.33% of the salary or wages, even if there is a loss in the establishment. So mandatorily, every company has to provide a bonus of 8.33%. This is basically 100 divided by 12 months, or in other words, you are not getting just 12 months salary, you will get 13 months salary when you provide bonus. The minimum, it can be above 8.33%. All right. Now the next one is Provident Fund. Now Provident Fund is a compulsory, okay, government managed retirement saving scheme, which enables employee to contribute a part of their savings each month towards the pension fund. At the same time, the employer also needs to contribute. So the employee contributes, employer also contributes, and both of them contribute and create a fund which is deposited either with a government organization, or maybe through trustees appointed like some of the insurance companies. And when the employee retires, they get actually a bulk amount from the company, which is called as Provident Fund. Then there is something called as gratuity. Now, gratuity is also a retirement benefit. Okay. Now, gratuity is an amount which is it is not collected from the employee, but from the employer for every year that the employee works in that company. 15 days of his wages or salary will be deposited into another fund, okay, and is paid as a gratuity at the time of retirement. 15 days wages in a year. All right. Then another one is called as incentives. Now incentives is basically the based on the performance. So to work more efficiently to achieve the higher organizational objectives, we call it as incentives. Also, it is known as payment by results also, and this is given only for performance above the target or maybe certain objective which the company has given. 11th one is stock options. Stock options are basically employee shares or stocks which is given to the employee. Now, when there is a public issue happening, sometimes the company will sell you have sell shares to its own employees at a lesser price. Similarly, senior executives are given employee stock options. So that is called as giving the equity to the employees is called as employee stock options, ESOs. Okay, sometimes ESOP, employee stock options or ESOs. Okay. Then meal allowance. There are certain companies which provide meal allowance also, or it can be meals or refreshment or tiffin services. And companies, there are certain companies which pay through card, especially Sodexo, Meal Pass, and all those things is being given to some of the companies, to some of the companies. Okay, our employees. Then there is something called as car allowance. Now there are two methods of car allowance. One, you get a vehicle. If you own a vehicle, some of the companies may provide you vehicle maintenance allowance in certain position, not for everyone. These are all given at different positions for different companies, in fact. So it can be a vehicle maintenance allowance, or sometimes they may provide a car. Okay, an official car can be there which you can drive. It will be in your name itself and paid by the company. Or sometimes they give a loan for buying a car, or they may give you maintenance allowances also. So like that, some amount, and petrol, all those things can be given based on the policy of the company. So car allowance can be there. Then entertainment allowance, especially when the employee wants to make hospitality to its customers for drinks and meal, certain companies provide entertainment allowance. Then overtime allowance. Now if you have to sit and late the organization and work on certain projects which has got deadlines, you may be provided overtime allowance. Then there is something called a city compensatory allowance, especially when you are traveling or living to cities, metropolitan cities. Our companies may give you CCA or city compensatory allowances also. Then there are companies which provide servant allowance in higher positions. Servant allowance is there. Then there are some companies which provide education allowance, especially in lower levels and all. You will find education allowance can be there. Then hostel allowance can be there for children, up to 300 per month, maximum for 2 children. Cash allowance can be there, especially for marriage or maybe other holidays and all. You may provide, we provided even cash allowances also. So there are different types of direct, and I think I have been very exhaustive in giving you the different types of compensation which is provided to employees. Now let us look into the indirect compensation also. Now, indirect compensation may not be one, it may not be given immediately. Okay, maybe after retirement it may be provided, or sometimes it may not be provided in it is not provided in cash. It may be non-monetary, and it may be sometimes as a policy, and it may be sometimes as a reimbursement also. So let us look at some of these also. They include leave policy. Based on that, you have certain leave policy, vacation policy, medical reimbursement, insurance, holiday homes, sick pay, child care, retirement benefits, and flexi timings. So let us look at those things also. What is a leave policy? Now, leave policy is every employee will be entitled for leave. Now, even leave also, it changes from employees to managers also. Maybe sick leave, casual leave, maternity leave, and other leaves which are approved by the company. Okay, and based on the employee levels, it may be based on your employee level, or maybe based on your on the like the policy of the company. So leave policy will be there. Okay. Anyway, casual leave, maternity leave, earned leave, I think I have not mentioned here earned leave. Earned leave is also there. That is like every 11 days that you work, you get 1 day as earned leave. Okay, and that can be accumulated also. Now, especially in colleges or academic institutions, we have something called as vacation policy also. You are entitled to for a 1 month vacation, especially for pursuing research or innovation or for training. And then there is something called as medical reimbursement. Now, this I have already told you. Mediclaim, Mediclaim will be there. Instead of medical allowance, there are companies which provide medical reimbursement. Apparently, it is not given in cash, but it will be whatever expenses are there in the hospital that will be reimbursed. Okay. Then there is something called as insurance. Insurance, maybe accidental insurance will be there in case of death, or maybe any accident where you are having some mobility issues. Accident insurance can be there. Sometimes sick insurance also is there, where if you are sick, the insurance company would pay, or the company would pay a certain amount also towards your other expenses. Then holiday homes. There are many companies which have got holiday homes also, especially in hill stations and all. They may be having their holiday homes, which the employee can avail at a very small price, or a very small price. You can avail the facility, guest house of the guest houses, or maybe company quarters also. Then other indirect compensation are sick pay. I have already told you sick leave days. This company need not pay salary. Instead of that, they can pay sick pay. Then child care. Now, child care is given to especially for women employees of period of 2 years, almost 730 days. You can take actually child care for taking care of the children. Child care can be there. Even paternity leave is also there. And then retirement benefits are there, which includes pension allowances, old age benefits, which may continue, till you die. Even if you retire from the company, also it will continue. Then there are certain companies which offer flexi times also, flexi timings, where the employee needs to spend only certain number of hours in the organization. Rest of the time he would be working from home, or maybe he may come late, or maybe flexi times can be there. Timings can be there. Again, another one is leave travel. They may be other than leave travel allowance. Certain other allowances also may be provided, especially when especially holidays can be there, especially in higher level executives. There can be a 1 month or maybe a 2 weeks holiday, especially in a resort where you don't have to pay anything. Everything is arranged by the company, but usually in a higher level. Then there are companies which offer even mobile phone reimbursement also, especially in sales employees. They provide mobile phone reimbursement or internet charges also. Now, what are the factors that you need to look into compensation planning? Now, when you decide a compensation planning, there are certain things that you need to look into. One, internal equity. Now, internal equity exists when an employer pays wages commensurate with the relative internal value of job. When you do this job analysis, you will know as to what is the type of skill required, what is the type of person required, what is the type of work that he has to execute. So based on that, you pay him. That is called as internal. So you have to calculate how much amount that you can give for this work, and that is called as internal equity. Now, next one is called as external equity. Now, external equity exists when an employer pays a wage rate commensurate with wages prevailing in external labor markets. Now, one company is paying so much for this, the other company also need to pay like either or same, or mostly on a higher level, because otherwise you may not get good employees. So prevailing rates are also important. So that is called as external equity. And the third one is called as individual equity. Now, individual equity is where the organization or the company may compensate an individual, maybe for the same job, but higher amount. Why? Because they understand that the value of the individual and his skills and his contribution are very valuable as far as the company, and usually it is a pay for performance also. So that is so when you plan actually a compensation, you have to look into how should I give. For example, you have to look at what is the work that has to be done. So you have to look into that. You have to look at what is the payment that has been given for the same job by other people, by other organizations. And the third, what is the type of skill and competence that person has, and based on that you have to pay. So these are the three factors that are looked into when when a company does a compensation planning. And what is the aim of basically the compensation planning? The ultimate goal of compensation administration is to reward the desired behaviors and encourage the employees to do well in their jobs. So other objectives are attract talent, retain talent, ensure equity. That means paid based on the work or the contribution that he gives to the company. New and desired behavior, motivation, and all those things will be the new and desired behavior. Control cost, again too much of salary also can like it may create, actually it will prove to be higher cost. Similarly, less salary also people may attrition rates will be high, then also the cost will go up. So you have to look at, you need to control the cost also, comply with legal rules according to the existing legislation, and ease of operation also. Based on the way in which you compensate, it should be easy and understandable as far as employees are concerned. So then, what is the essentials of a good compensation planning? It should be consistent with the position held. Okay, it should be in tune with the position held by the employee. It decides the right salary and other benefits befitting the position, and is at least in conformity with the prevalent salary structure for such a position in the industry. So, right salary according to what is paid in the same position by other companies or in the industry. It acts as a catalyst to improve productivity of the organization. So it is a motivator or a catalyst also. It speeds up the behavior. Better behavior is produced by the employee. It provides satisfaction and security. Okay. It helps to improve financial health of the employees, organization, and the society at large. Okay. The employee, it should financial health of the employee. I hope you have understood. Organization also, too much, not too much of salary or too less salary. It should always be a proper, the cost should always be kept in control, and the society also should feel that the person has got enough money to spend. It does not distract the team spirit and the group cohesion. Now, if you're paying, again very carefully, you have to compensate. Otherwise, sometimes what happens among the team itself, there can be competition, okay, between members, and team spirit will be lost. It helps to generate a hearty connection between the employees and the managers also. Both of them would feel that that the relationship between them is quite good. It should be simple and very easy to understand. Make the employees understand about the salary. It should be flexible so that future changes in the compensation can be easily accommodated. Okay, it should be flexible. It helps to retain existing employees, and it keeps competing firms away to pull out the efficient employees also. So existing employees should be happy, and those who perform satisfactory in the company should also be happy. At the same time, competing firms should not be able to grab your employees, your efficient employees from the company. It generates a positive correlation between compensation and motivation, and performance. And so it is a correlation, positive correlation between compensation and motivation, and performance. All right. So compensation, motivation, and performance should go in tune with each other. It enhances the job involvement and the commitment to the job. So people should feel, like, when you're paid, they should feel that, my company is paying well. As a result, I should be more involved and committed to the job. It increases the sense of belongingness to the company. It acts with the contours of the strategy of the company. So thank you very much. I hope your class on you have understood the class on compensation management. This is only one portion of our fifth module. We have got like around 5 different parts of this module, and as you learn, you will become better and better as far as compensation planning, and should be and you will be able to put the best efforts in the companies that you work. Thank you all.